Hello, my fellow writers. Thank you for diving into this with me. A few days ago, I sent out a survey to ask writers what's really getting in the way of their writing, and the responses were awesome. They were also insightful. The answers all boil down to inner and outer blocks. Inner and outer blocks are just another way of saying what's really getting in the way of you writing the things you want to write. And in my last video, we talked about how inner blocks are those things inside of you, like the inner swirl, the lack of confidence, self-doubt, overwhelm. And I introduced you to an empowerment tool for every writer to tackle that inner block. The link to that video is below if you missed it. I recommend checking it out. That was inner block, an inner block. Today, I want to talk about an outer block. Outer block are those things outside of you that are getting in your way. If you wanted to get really literal, you can imagine an outer block being like a wall in front of you, whereas an inner block is all your thoughts and feelings and beliefs about that wall. So let's get specific with one outer block that all writers struggle with: time. But before I go there, let me tell you just a little bit about myself. About 20 years ago, I was finishing grad school, Master's of Divinity, which is a tale for another day, and realizing that what I really wanted to do was write. That's what I'd always wanted to do, and I was finally getting honest with myself about it. And in particular, I wanted to write fiction, which had nothing to do with a 3-year degree I just finished. So I set about creating a life that would pay my bills and let me write. And I went back to school for an MFA in creative writing. I wrote my first novel, and then another and another and another. Meanwhile, in my day job life, I was starting to find my way into work that made more and more sense for my interests and skills. And ultimately, that led me to coaching. And now I'm a certified life transitions and empowerment coach and founder of Chaptercraft Coaching. And I love, 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 love coaching. But here's the funny thing. Along the way, as I got more and more committed to my writing, I started to lose the joy in it all. And it wasn't like I was getting published in all these big name places with lots of prestige and bragging rights along the way. So losing the joy of writing really made me start to question why I was trying so hard. And I really lost my path, and I lost my passion for it. And I started feeling really stuck and dissatisfied. And it wasn't until I took a big break from writing that I realized what I was learning and doing with my coaching clients was actually creating a new way forward, where I had new tools for the inevitable inner and outer blocks of the writing life. So now I'm really passionate about sharing those new tools with other writers so they can get to writing the things they want and that they need to write and feel good while they're doing it, and realize even more of the potential of their art being fully expressed. Because honestly, the world needs your art. It needs your writing. The world needs you expressing the things that only you can truly express, because that creates more beauty in the world, more meaning, more wholeness. When you write, it makes you a more whole person. And then you walk into the world and you share that wholeness. And your writing, if you're willing to share it, can also create more wholeness. It makes people feel more connected, can make people feel. We need more of that in the world, not less. So if we can shift those inner and outer blocks getting in your way, the widest impact of that is so far beyond you. All while you're living inside the joy of writing the things that you most want to write. It is human to experience inner and outer blocks. It's universal. But inner and outer blocks can be moved so that they're no longer getting in your way. So let's talk about one of those really big outer blocks for writers: time. This one's a doozy, right? If only we had more time. If only we didn't have to work so much. If only our kid was better at sleeping in so we'd have the time to get up early and write. If only we had time, then we could write the amazing things we were meant to write. Okay, so time is an outer block. If every moment of your waking life is scheduled to the hilt, and there is genuinely not a single moment of any day, ever, for some stillness, then yes, time is your outer block. and you can find ways to eliminate one or more activities in your life to create time to solve for that outer block. You could schedule a day off. You could set up a babysitting swap arrangement with another writer parent. So each take turns having time, or having time to write with the kids, or having time with the kids. You could start writing during your workout using a dictation app. There are strategies available, creative ways to carve out time. It takes some thinking and some openness to trying some new ways. And it almost always requires making a conscious choice to stop doing something or to do less of something, like Netflix or social media. You know, you can overcome an outer block with thoughtful, conscious choices that will work for you, particularly if you build in some accountability through a writing friend or a writing community or a coach. If an outer block is that wall in your way and you're trying to shove the wall out of the way, accountability is the friend helping you push. But here's the tricky thing about time. It's not just an outer block. It can also be an inner one. And it's often masquerading as an outer block, making you think that if you just use a particular app or a time management strategy, that will solve the problem. Only for you to give up on the app or the time management strategy after about a week. There's usually an inner block that's really running the show. That inner block might be a limiting belief. A limiting belief is a belief you hold, usually without realizing it, that is disempowering. It's holding you back. It's limiting your possibility as a human and as a writer. Here's one example of a limiting belief that writers often carry around. I can't write unless I have 2 hours available, or 2 days, or 2 weeks. That's time, right? I can't write unless I have a certain amount of time to do it. Or I can't write unless I fill in the blank with your personal favorite excuse. We all have limiting beliefs around any number of things. It's human. And often, as soon as you're aware of it and start to question how true it really is, you can start to see other possibilities. You can get creative and brainstorm. So the second empowerment tool for every writer that I want to introduce you to is question the limiting belief. Poke at it. See if it's really, really true, like true with a capital T. It often sounds like, I can't, and fill in the blank. And if you pause to question why you believe you can't, fill in the blank, you'll start to uncover something you may or may not be expecting. I'm not going to lie to you. Questioning the limiting belief can be uncomfortable. So one way you can make this easier is to think of yourself as the interviewer, and the belief is the person you are interviewing. Now you get to ask whatever question you want. Explore your curiosity with a little space between you and the belief. You can ask things like, where did that belief come from? Has it always felt true? When was the first time you noticed it? Writers have a unique advantage in this process because we have experience creating characters that are separate from ourselves, creating writing that we come back to and we revise. So we know it can be helpful to get a little space between ourselves and feedback in order to find the gold and ditch the rest. We're good at creating space in between ourselves and the other. So you can do that with questioning the belief. And as you question that limiting belief, it will start to lose its hold and you can get back to life. You can get back to writing. And now with more freedom, it's empowering. And just like in the last video, learning about these inner and outer blocks isn't just empowering for you and for your writing process, though they are in a huge, huge way. They're also new tools you get to use to develop the characters you're creating. There are new ways to investigate the people you're writing about in nonfiction or poetry. There are new tools to shape your storytelling. So, what is the limiting belief that your main character keeps getting tripped up by? And how could you use that to draw them more fully or even open up the story even further? And if you're writing nonfiction characters who are human, then you know they have limiting beliefs too, because they're human and it's human to have an inner block getting in your way. So, what is their particular limiting belief? How does that influence the choices they make and what happens next? A lot of people get stuck thinking they just need a new app, a new form of technology, a new technique to help them get to writing the things they want to write. And those can all help. But if the inner block isn't addressed, if the thing inside you is allowed to keep getting in your way, that new app or new technique will only take you so far. Imagine instead being able to shift that tricky inner block so that it's not getting in the way of you sitting down to write and writing the things that only you can write. Imagine being able to use some of that same creative energy to identify what would really help you tackle the outer block in the way that works just perfectly for you. So now you can really get to the writing in a way that feels freer, with some space and energy to spare for the creative project that you're working on, whatever that might be. These empowerment tools are for every writer because we all deal with inner and outer blocks everywhere along the journey. So whether you're aspiring to write but haven't really gotten started yet, or you've been writing and writing for years and years, these are for you. If you're interested in learning more, I have a course opening up soon. From Doubt to Done, Empowerment Tools for Every Writer. I'll share more about that in my next video. For now, comment below, what limiting belief do you think shows up most often for writers? And share this video with a fellow writer friend who could also use a boost. Bye for now.